Hi guys, I'm Justin. I am doing part 2 of chapter 7, which is conflict management. I'm starting with choosing the best conflict management approach. It breaks it down into 5 categories of interpersonal confrontation, those being forcing, avoiding, compromising, accommodating, and collaborating. I'm going to break those down individually. Forcing is an attempt to satisfy one's own needs at the expense of the needs of the other individual in the conflict. Usually that involves pulling rank or abusing your authority. Some people use it to accomplish things, and on the surface they are successful, but they tend to get faced with backlash in the long run, so it's not always the best idea. The second one is avoiding. This approach neglects the interest of both parties involved in the confrontation by sidestepping the conflict or postponing a solution. This is a lose-lose situation because it ensures no one gets what they want. It is used by people that are ill prepared to cope with the stress created from confrontation. An example would be politicians avoiding addressing the concerns during a debate or a meeting of some sort because they don't have a stake in the confrontation, so it's not worth it to get involved. Compromising. This approach attempts to obtain partial satisfaction from both parties. In a sense, both parties receive the proverbial half loaf. They each get something out of it. They each also make sacrifices in order to solve the confrontation. For example, a mediator makes both parties meet in the middle when addressing a conflict. Neither side gets everything they want, but they do get something out of it. The fourth one is accommodating. This approach satisfies the other involved parties' concerns while neglecting one's own concerns. This is best used in moderation. While it's great at preserving relationships, long-time use of this tactic can lead to neglect of critical issues. It can also lead others to taking advantage of a person when they use this option too frequently. The final option is collaborating. This approach is an attempt to fully address the concerns of both parties involved in a conflict. It's often referred to as the problem-solving mode. This approach helps both parties involved feel like they've won. This is the only win-win option of the 5 categories. Moving on to selection factors. Personal preferences. This states that if an individual is not comfortable with an approach to resolve a conflict, it means that even if it is understood as the best possible option, they will dismiss it because they aren't comfortable with it. The book states that research suggests that ethnic cultures strongly affect an individual's personal preferences. They list an example of Asian cultures prefer non-confrontational approaches, while Americans and South Africans prefer the forcing approach. The book also states that compromising is the most popular choice across all cultures. And finally, it states that people draw from more than one conflict management style, so if you don't feel you perfectly align with any one option, that's fine. That's common, and that's pretty much everybody. Selection factors continued. Situational considerations. It uses 4 questions to help individuals select which conflict management approach is appropriate for their situation. How important is the disputed issue? How important is the relationship with the other party involved in the conflict? What is the relative level of power or authority between the two people involved in the dispute? And to what extent is time a significant constraint in resolving the dispute? Further breakdown, how important is the disputed issue? Answer with high or low depending on the level of importance. That kind of goes without saying how important the issue is to you. How important is the relationship? High means critical, as in the other person in the dispute is of importance to you and you will have to handle that carefully to not fracture the relationship. What is the relative level of power or authority between the people involved? High means the other person involved in the dispute has a higher status than you. Equal means both parties are peers, and low means the other person has a lower status than you, a subordinate, or for example. And to what extent is time a significant constraint in resolving the dispute? High if it needs to be resolved quickly, low if time isn't really a factor. Comparing conflict management and negotiation strategies, this chart compares the 5 management approaches against the 4 situational factors, and it lists the high or low medium or low high, medium high, what have you, when the two meet on the chart and when it's best to use for each situation. Another breakdown of the five strategy or five different approaches. Forcing is generally used when conflict involves a core issue or policy. Accommodating is used when both parties need to maintain a good working relationship. Compromise is used when issues are complex and moderately important to simple solutions that don't exist. Collaborating is used when issues are critical and maintaining the relationship is important, but time isn't a constraint. And avoiding is used when the stake in the issue isn't high and there isn't a strong personal reason to get involved. Thank you.